Hi, my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. Today, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on this series. That's not book number one. On this series, Triple Threat by Irene Hannon. It is a 3-book series. I only have 2 books physically. Book number 1 is Point of Danger, and book number 2 is Labyrinth of Lies. Book number 3 is Body of Evidence, and that one was released on October the 4th, and I received it as an advanced reader copy from Rebel. I do plan on purchasing it though because I can't have an incomplete series, and this was just as good as I expected it to be from Irene Hannon. It is a romantic suspense series. 3 sisters are featured in the 3 books, so 1 sister per book, and then they interact with each other throughout the book. So the first book introduces us to Eve Riley. The first book is Point of Danger. So I was hooked from the first page. I could not put it down. Eve is a radio show host who is being targeted by someone. Police Detective Brent responds to the initial call. Upon meeting, the two click. However, Brent has no intention of getting involved with anyone ever. His friends and co-workers try to convince him his reasons for this are wrong, but he is stubborn. Will meeting Eve change his mind? The two get to know each other better as more threats happen on Eve, or to Eve. Can they figure out who is targeting her before she gets hurt? I really like that Eve tried to follow the advice of law enforcement instead of taking unnecessary risks. I could not stand Steve and was so happy when Meg took action and stood up for herself. I would have loved a follow-up on how she was doing by the end of the book. The minor storyline with Doug felt a little bit out of place and didn't fit with the rest of the events, but I did like the realization that Doug comes to. Miss Hannon has created characters that you want to be around and want to cheer for. I really liked the interactions of Eve and her sisters. Their banter was really fun and had me laughing. It was cool that Miss Hannon had a character from a previous series work as a detective alongside Brent. When he was first introduced, I thought, I recognize this guy, but I wasn't positive. Then he shared a little bit more about himself, and I was like, hey, that's the guy from Dangerous Illusions. I had to stop reading to look it up and confirm if I was remembering correctly or not. The revelation of the mastermind in the end shocked me. I had not suspected them at all. It's amazing how people can keep things about themselves hidden. I absolutely loved the characters of Eve and Brent and enjoyed the way their relationship developed. So I did a vlog while I was reading Point of Danger, and so in that vlog I share kind of my initial thoughts as I started the book and just a little bit into it. So I will link that vlog below. There is one section, this just shows how like Irene kind of weaves things in. Let me see if I can find it. I can't find it. So you'll have to watch the vlog to find exactly. But it just, in addition to the character that pops up from another series, she also mentions another series that she's written in this book. And I laughed so hard when I read it because I knew exactly what series she was talking about. But I mentioned that in my vlog because I can't find it at the moment where that quote is. But one quote I do want to share from this book is, "You have to let people do what they're called to do and put the rest in God's hands. Once you manage that, life is much less stressful." It's all about trusting God, putting your faith in Him. So then I moved on to book number 2, which is Labyrinth of Lies. Working undercover is dangerous. Add in the return of an ex-boyfriend who broke your heart years ago, and Kate is in a very difficult position. Can she discover answers to bring the responsible person to justice and how does the X factor in? So Kate is one of the Riley sisters, and she is a police detective who has been assigned to go undercover to search for answers regarding a couple of missing teens. Did they run away, or did something more sinister happen to them? Kate is not happy about being undercover, and even more so when she runs into her ex-boyfriend who broke her heart years ago. She determines he must be undercover as well, and it takes all her strength to keep her composure together so that she doesn't blow their covers. Kate determines if Zeke is here, there must be more happening than her missing teens. But can she figure it out while protecting her heart? There were so many possible suspects, but who is really involved, and how are they involved? There were so many layers to what was going on and had me questioning what was connected and what wasn't. There is a lot of suspense and dangerous moments. I was left guessing and debating the whole way through who the ringleader was. I did not guess right. Multiple police agencies must work together to capture the guilty people and protect their undercover agents. The ringleader's reasoning for their actions was so warped and misguided. I am not a big fan of second chance romances, but I did like how Kate and Zeke talked things out and were honest about their feelings in regards to what happened back then and what was happening now. Other than the mention of both characters being Christians and straying from their moral values in the past, there wasn't a huge faith element playing out. There were some really good scenes between them though, and this book contained all the elements of a great romantic suspense read. So the quote that I want to share is, God often works through ordinary activities to bring about extraordinary results. So then the third book is Body of Evidence. This is the new release. This is the one that I received as an advanced reader copy from Rebel. So I flew through this book and I read it in less than 24 hours. Grace Riley, who is the youngest of the three sisters, is a forensic pathologist, and while performing an autopsy, she discovers something that reminds her of another case she worked not that long ago. This raises her suspicions that maybe this person did not die of natural causes as suspected. After comparing her case notes, she is pretty sure the two cases are connected and that the victims did not die of natural causes. She takes her concerns to the local sheriff, Nate Cox. He can't immediately see the connection that Grace is seeing, but eventually he agrees with her findings and the two begin working together for answers. While Grace runs tests, Nate interviews various people. Meanwhile, Grace's car is vandalized and a suspicious present is left at her home. Are these incidents connected to her theory, or is she being targeted for another reason? Nate and Grace work together to piece together all the little bits of information they have. Knowing that anyone could be the villain, I was suspicious of everyone I met. There were two particular people I suspected early on, but then I ruled them out for various reasons. However, I should have gone with my gut and not doubted myself with one of them, because it turned out I was right about them. This book kept me guessing and engaged in the plot. I loved the combination of suspense and romance. The romance between Nate and Grace stays in the background while the investigation is ongoing. I loved the interaction of the two and couldn't wait for their first date to eventually happen. My only negative comment about the book is that some of the autopsy scenes go quite a bit into detail and is not for the squeamish. I really enjoyed this conclusion to the series and spending time with each of the Riley sisters individually and together. Their sisterly banter was fun. I recommend reading the series to anyone who loves suspense with a little bit of romance thrown in. So the quote that I took from this book is not really a God faith-based quote that I usually like to take. It's just more kind of a fun quote that made me laugh and just shows the banter between the sisters. There is someone out there for you too. I know it. Someone who won't care in the least that you cut up dead bodies for a living. So that is my review of these 3 books. So I gave book number 1 5 stars. I gave book number 2 4 stars. And I gave book number 3 5 stars. Basically, book number 2 just didn't hit it out of the park for me because I'm not a big second chance romance person. And I think that's where I struggled with these characters, because if you broke up for a reason, you broke up for a reason. And I know that's not always the case. I know there's exceptions, and it's not that I didn't like them together, but yeah. So that is my review of the Triple Threat series. Basically, if you like romance and you like suspense, read it. Irene Hannon draws the story and pulls the readers in. Thank you very much. And if you've read any of Irene Hannon's books, please leave a comment down below of what your favorite book by her is, or kind of the book that you might want to pick up next. I'd love to chat. Have a good day. Bye.